In today's show, we are looking at week 4 in the NBA, previewing the schedule, the stream days, all of that stuff. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com and at Yahoo Sports Australia, and you can find me on Twitter as always at redrock_bball and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. We're looking ahead to week 4 in the NBA. Who knows what's going to happen? There's going to be players out. There's going to be weird things going on, but let's have a look at what we know at this point. Let's start off by taking a look at the schedule, and we've got 2 teams this week that play 5 games. The Indiana Pacers and the Philadelphia 76ers. Of course, the entirety of the Philadelphia 76ers team is in a little bit of COVID turmoil at this point, so we don't actually know who's going to be available to play for them this week. We know that Tobias Harris, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, Seth Curry, Shake Milton, Matisse Thybulle and Vincent Poirier were unable to play in Saturday's game, but we don't know what, outside of Curry, who will miss the week, we don't know what that means for all of these guys like Simmons and Embiid who missed because of injury, apparently. It looks like the thick hogsman Tobias Harris will miss most of the week.
I think I am a TH.
T to the H.
Yeah, TH for life.
And we assume that Milton's going to miss majority of time, Thybulle's going to miss, Poirier's going to miss, but we don't know that for sure because those quarantine times can change somewhat. But we don't know that. And we don't know about Simmons and Embiid, but it is obviously important for us to know. But what that does mean with a team with 5 games, it opens up an absolute ton of value for guys like Tyrese Maxey, for guys like Danny Green to become a pretty strong ad for this week, Isaiah Joe for deeper leagues, Dakota Matthias as another option you can look at in deeper leagues, very deep leagues, you look at Paul Reed as well. So there's a lot that can happen there with Philly. For the Indiana Pacers, they have 2 back-to-backs in that 5-game period. Victor Oladipo rested one of the back-to-backs earlier this season. They're only one. Does he miss 2 games? Does that mean Aaron Holiday becomes viable? Justin Holiday should see big minutes. So that's an interesting start to the week there. On the flip side of the schedule, the Minnesota Timberwolves play 2 games. So, if you're streaming in Ricky Rubio or Jared Vanderbilt, Naz Reid, Jarrett Culver, Josh Okogie, Anthony Edwards, they're going to be of no use to you pretty much next week. And the only guy, we are assuming Karl Anthony Towns is either going to, I'm recording this before Saturday's action, he's either going to be back on Saturday or he'll be back early next week. So his 2 games, they might be enough to roster, but I don't even think D'Angelo Russell's going to be one of those guys. In the rest of the teams, 15 teams play 4 games and 12 teams play 3 games for the week. The schedule is pretty set up. It's set up pretty well, in fact, for streaming. 8 games Monday, 7 Tuesday, 10 Wednesday, 5 Thursday, 10 Friday, 7 Saturday, and 7 Sunday. So we're looking at 5 days of streaming and potentially 7 days of streaming, depending on your roster. At this point, I'll just rule Wednesday and Friday out of stream, but again, your roster might have active spots on those days where you can actually use players, but you'll be able to stream Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, really without too much problem at all. So be aware of how many acquisitions you can make this week. Check what your maximum is. If it's 5, you add one of those guys each day. If you're unlimited, then you stream like crazy to get players in. If you're at 3, you're trying to maximize back-to-backs to get the most games possible out of that streaming slot. And this is a question that does get asked often, so I'll answer it here now. What is streaming, people ask? And there's a lot of new people to fantasy basketball who are listening and watching this show, and let me explain what streaming is. So if those of you who know, the next 30 seconds, you can just fast forward it. What it means is the last player on your roster, it just means churning through that. Somebody plays on Monday, drop someone, add that person on Monday. They don't play again till Wednesday, you drop them, you add someone on Tuesday, and it's just moving players through, streaming them through that one spot so that you get players that play on each day to maximize your games played for the week. That's all streaming means. So the last player on your roster becomes expendable as you just churn through and get different players into that spot. The stream teams that we're looking at, obviously the Sixers and the Pacers with the 5 games, and all 5 of their games are on the low volume days. So you can add Justin Holiday, Aaron Holiday, Doug McDermott if he's healthy, ready to go. You can add these players for the Pacers or for the Sixers. Tyrese Maxey, as I said, going to be a great option. You can add them and get 5 games worth of action out of them in a daily changes league. So they are absolute key targets. They're TJ McConnell. 5 games of TJ McConnell for 1 waiver acquisition this week. While TJ McConnell's not great, like that could actually rack up some pretty decent assist numbers for you. McDermott, Holiday, McConnell. These guys aren't rostered, and they're going to be playing quite a bit this year. In this week. And then the Sixers, you've got, really, who knows what's going to happen with those players and who's going to be available. But a lot of Tyrese Maxey, a lot of Danny Green, a lot of even Prison Mike Scott might be available. We don't know. Isaiah Joe for deeper leagues. There's going to be a lot there. But there are a bunch of other teams that have 3 streaming games this week. The Nuggets, the Blazers, the Cavs, the Hornets, Raptors, Spurs, Rockets, and Heat all have 3 streaming games this week. There are some teams that don't have any. The Timberwolves don't have any stream games, so they're useless completely. But some that only have 1. The Bucks have 1. The Lakers have 1. Pistons and the Clippers have 1 streaming game this week. So if you are adding a Delon Wright, or you're looking to add him in for the week, like, is he actually going to be useful for you in 1 game for the week? If you, for some reason, still think Kyle Kuzma is a useful option, then they've only got 1 game on a low-volume day, the Lakers. So, Kentavious Kawhi-Pope, Wes Matthews, these guys who've been producing okay, they're not going to have that value for you. So you're looking at the players on these teams that I've got listed, the 5 gamers, plus that bunch of teams that play 3 games this week. Interestingly, the Pacers, all 5 of their games this week are on the road. Not sure what that's going to mean for that back-to-back at the end of the week after a week total on the road, but that's the quirks of their schedule for this week. Back-to-backs, we've got 18 teams having back-to-backs, and as I said, Indiana and Philadelphia have double back-to-backs. Monday, Tuesday, and Saturday, Sunday, they both have back-to-backs. Now, for the Pacers, I think that Oladipo is going to miss 2 of these games. I don't know that for sure, but I think he will. For the Sixers, Simmons is dealing with knee soreness. Embiid's dealing with back soreness. You would have to assume that Embiid misses 1 of these games, and Simmons might miss 1 of them as well, and that's going to give that stream value to Dwight Howard or maybe Tony Bradley. Am I mistaken? Maybe Bradley's out as well. No, Bradley's ready to go. So you're going to have some ability to stream guys in there. The other ones we need to pay attention to in terms of back-to-backs and rests, the Thunder. So you're probably going to have Al Horford sitting out a game, maybe George Hill sitting out a game. The Lakers, is Anthony Davis going to have a adductor issue or a calf issue or a shoulder issue or a wrist issue? Who knows? He's sat out 1 game of both back-to-backs so far with an injury, so let's see how that continues. The Pistons, so you're going to have Blake Griffin sitting out a back-to-back during the week, and then the Brooklyn Nets have got a back-to-back as well, so Kyrie Irving maybe will sit, but Kevin Durant will almost assuredly sit, although Durant, of course, has sat all of this week due to COVID-19 protocols, but they are the back-to-backs that we need to pay attention to. When we're looking to stream, again, if we're looking to maximize our games played because of the acquisition limits, on Monday, Tuesday, 3 teams have a back-to-back. Indiana, Philadelphia, and Cleveland. And the other time when there is 2 low-volume days next to each other is Saturday and Sunday, and that's just Indiana and Philadelphia. So if we're really looking at true back-to-backs, it's the Sixers, it's the Pacers, and it's the Cavs who have those options this week. But of course, we have pseudo back-to-backs, and that's the Tuesday, Thursday, where there's a 10-game Wednesday in the middle. So if you add someone on Tuesday, you probably don't need to drop them for Wednesday because you won't have an active slot, and then you can hold them for Thursday. And there's a bunch of teams that have this. Tuesday, Thursday, you've got Indiana, Philadelphia, San Antonio, Houston, Miami, Denver, and Golden State. And then on the same Thursday, Saturday pseudo back-to-back, Indiana, Philadelphia, Portland, Charlotte, Toronto, San Antonio, Houston, and Miami. So a lot of teams having those pseudo back-to-backs with stream options on those days. So you can add a Spurs player on a Tuesday. Maybe that's a Patty Mills or Rudy Gay, and then hold them for the Wednesday, and then they're ready to go for the Thursday. 2 games, 1 acquisition. Thursday and Saturday, you've got Charlotte. So do you add Miles Bridges on Thursday and then get 2 games out of him Thursday, Saturday? Look, these are really key ways to being able to maximize your games played for the week. Let's look at some guys that you can add in a weekly league who you might be able to start this week. Willie Cauley-Stein's the new starting center for Dallas. I like adding him for the week. Of course, they're dealing with some COVID issues with Josh Richardson, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Jalen Brunson being out. The Celtics are without Jason Tatum for the week. Tristan Thompson, Robert Williams, and Grant Williams are also quarantining. So Daniel Tice, to me, looks like a pretty strong ad for the week. Yeah, Shemi Ojeleye will get some opportunities, and I really like Peyton Pritchard. Actually, Peyton Pritchard is a guy that you should be rostering for this week with Tatum out. I think they'll start him and push Smart and Brown up a position and start Ojeleye and Tice in that front court as well. So we're really looking at Pritchard as a strong ad too. Maxi Kleber in Dallas, and then of course, as I mentioned already, Tyrese Maxey. I really like his value for this upcoming week. I would 100% be looking to add him if it's possible. In a points league, guys to stream, these are available in more than 50% of leagues. Cole Anthony, Justin Holiday with his 5 games, Daniel Tice with the depleted front court with Boston, and Bismack Biyombo with the Charlotte Hornets. He has some value in points leagues for this week. And normally what I do in this weekly show is I'd say, on these days, these are players you can stream. I'm not doing that now because, again, if I go out 7 days of like, on Sunday, you should target this guy for stream. I'm not doing that now. But what I am doing is every day I'm doing a what to watch for show. And at the end of that what to watch for show, I give you 4 or 5 players who are good streams for the next day. So that information will be right up to date for you, and you can check it on those what to watch for shows. Players you can sit this week, obviously Josh Richardson. He might come back during the week, but we don't want to start him. Kemba Walker looks like he could return for Boston this week, but I wouldn't want to start him in a weekly format. Anthony Edwards and Malik Beasley for the Wolves. They've only got the 2 games this week, so they are pretty clear sits. And of course, you're sitting guys like Tobias Harris, you're sitting Jason Tatum, these players who were already quarantined that we're aware of. Michael Porter Jr. as well, another guy, and Josh Richardson, another guy that we can sit for this week. I've already mentioned Josh Richardson, sorry about that. In points leagues, Richardson and Walker options there. I think Serge Ibaka is another guy that probably isn't worth starting in most weekly leagues, and same with Otto Porter, who had to leave Friday's game with back spasms, and the Bulls just don't have the greatest schedule for this week. And they also might be welcoming back Lauri Markkanen, which could have an impact somewhat on the value of Otto Porter for this coming week. But yeah, it's a little bit of a dicey one to get too interested in there. And then lastly, we're going to look at some deeper league ads for the week. Cauley-Stein, again, he's under 20% rostered in advanced leagues. I like him. Aaron Holiday is going to get a boost this week. Derek Jones Jr., the minutes should be there most nights, and then another pacer. Doug McDermott is an interesting ad for the week in 14 to 16 team leagues, with your Isaiah Joes and your Tyrese Maxeys and Peyton Pritchards, who I already mentioned. These are other players that can be thrown into those scenarios. That'll do it for my weekly preview. I'll be back later today to do a what to watch for Sunday. I'll be recapping all the games on Basketball Monster today. There is no recap show after Saturday's games. Yep, that's how it goes. And then tomorrow there will be a waiver wire show. There'll be a pre-game show. There will be a recap show. There'll be a what to watch for show. So there'll be a lot of shows going on, guys. Subscribe, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and on YouTube. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.